Hello. So I've been using PixInsight now for a few years, and when I read a lot of posts on forums and Facebook groups and things like that, obviously people think that PixInsight has a very steep learning curve. It does have a steep learning curve in my opinion as well, but that's to be able to master it. So for an example, the 101 different processes that PixInsight can offer, all of the third-party scripts that integrate with PixInsight, that can be very off-putting. And I think with PixInsight, one of the questions for a lot of beginners or new people to start using PixInsight is where to begin. And what I hope to show in this video is that taking our image here of the M51 Galaxy, Whirlpool Galaxy, using a very simple workflow, we can actually break PixInsight down to being relatively simple. Now I know there'll be some people out there like the kind of hardcore PixInsight users who say you can't just break PixInsight down, but I think, as I said, one of the hurdles is just knowing where to start, coming up with a simple workflow that can be repeated on different images, and then obviously expand on that workflow over time. So as I said, in this video, I'm going to go through a simple workflow, and hopefully you can see how relatively easy and maybe not as frightening it is to actually use PixInsight. Let me know in the comments if this is helpful, and obviously if you are new to PixInsight, let me know if you were able to follow along with the video. So we've stacked our image and loaded it into PixInsight. Obviously PixInsight can do stacking itself, but that's probably for another video. But we've stacked our image, loaded it into PixInsight, and we'll go from there. So you can see there's a lot of noise on this. The color is not great on the image to start with, and obviously there's a gradient on the image as well, and I'll show you how we reduce the noise and remove the gradient. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use something called automatic background extractor, and I'm going to be just select the process from the menus at the top. That loads up the ABE window, which has obviously got all of the parameters that we could be setting. I'm going to reset this just to show you first time you load this, this is what you should see. And all we want to do is change correction at the bottom to subtraction. So what that means is once it has generated the background or generated the gradient, it'll remove that gradient model from our image. So we'll choose subtraction for removal. We're going to replace the target image, so we don't get a second image. We're just you'll see in a second the improved image is just replaced within our frame or our window here. So subtraction, replace target image, and we're going to click and drag on this triangle across into our main window. Okay, so quick as that, we've got two windows here. One's gone very dark and one is dark. The ABE background window, if I just click on this kind of little nuclear button at the top, this then shows us the actual gradient or the model that it's calculated, and it is removed from our original image. On the right hand side here, we're just going to do a quick auto stretch. So don't worry too much about what stretching is. Again, that could be for another video. I'm just trying to show you the simple workflow. So I'm going to click on auto stretch, and it's stretched the image temporarily. But the key thing here is that it has removed this gradient from our initial or original image. So we don't need this background. I can just close that, and I can just close auto background extractor on the right hand side here. Next thing we're going to do is some color calibration. So it's not the best of colors. This stacked image, there's a lot of green in there, but hopefully we're going to start working towards improving the color on this. So again, process, all processes, and then we're going to run SPC or Spectro Photometric Color Calibration. I'm going to open that window. I'm going to reset it to its original defaults. And what I'm going to do here is in the QE curve drop down, I'm going to choose this second bottom one because I've got a ASI ZWO ASI533 camera. And this is the settings for mine, 533. Select that. What we're going to do here, we're not going to generate the graphs, so we can remove that, and simply nothing else. We're going to change just that one drop down, and we're going to drag this into our main image again. Now again, this is just, you know, I'm trying to get across how simple a workflow can be. You know, yes, there's 20 or 30 different parameters on here we could be changing, but I'm trying to show you that, you know, if you want to go to the nth level or the nth degree of what PixInsight can offer, you can do that, but also just using this as an introduction to a simple workflow for galaxies within PixInsight. So I'm going to close SPCC, and you can see in the center here in our image, we'll just kind of do an undo and a redo, so you can just see the difference that that last process has given us from a color point of view. So it's handled the background colors better, removed green, the little kind of green tint that we had on the image. And then, as you can see, when I hit redo, you can see that we're getting a little bit more contrast, a little bit more definition on the galaxy itself and the arms of the galaxy. Okay, so as I said before, if I zoom in, you know, the stars are tight, but could be tighter, and there's a lot of background noise in this image, as you can see. So I'm going to be using a third-party or two third-party tools here. The first one is called BlurXTerminator. So load that, again, just using the default settings. We're going to click on the triangle and drag this across. So BlurXTerminator basically sharpens the image for us. It does something called deconvolution, but from a visual point of view, we should notice that the galaxy and the stars are a lot tighter. So again, if I undo and redo, you can see that the stars are getting tighter. The kind of halos around them are being removed as well. So BlurXTerminator, an external tool by RC-Astro. I'll put a link to this tool in the description of this video. But yeah, nice little external tool. From the same company, we're now going to do NoiseXTerminator. So if I zoom right in here, you can see a lot of kind of digital noise, residual noise on our image. And what NoiseXTerminator will do will hopefully remove all of that. So again, default settings. I'm not changing anything here. The whole point is to show you a workflow, not to kind of talk about the details of the specific values or parameters that we can be selecting, just using defaults all the way through. So dragging NoiseXTerminator into the image. This might take several seconds. It is a lot of processing for the computer or for the CPU. And there you can see, I'm going to close NoiseXTerminator, but we've got a much cleaner background. So this is kind of before. We can see a lot of digital noise there, or sensor noise, and then after, nice and clean. Okay, so before and after. So we're going to go back to our galaxy, our starless image, and we are going to stretch the image here. Now, typical PixInsight, there's probably 3 or 4 different ways to stretch your image, but the one that we're going to use today is process and then multi-scale adaptive stretch. There we go, multi-scale adaptive stretch. Reset the defaults. Now, one of the great things we can do with this tool is if we press the circle, we get a real-time preview of our image, so we can see when we're moving the settings up and down how it's actually going to be affecting our image. So let's just reset that. We don't want the background to be completely black, because that starts to look a little too fake. So I'm just going to adjust this very slightly so there's a kind of a bit of a mottling effect around the galaxy. So all of this is like, you know, adjust to taste. But I'm going to be changing the target background and also the color saturation on this. So the color saturation, if I boost right up, you can see we get a lot more color, but again, then it's sometimes, you know, called kind of overcooking the image. Sorry, not the amount, the boost there. So if I boost that up, it goes very blue, but likewise if I go all the way to the bottom, we'll lose a lot of that colour, a lot of the blues, the reds, and the kind of the I suppose the greys that are in there. So again, move this suit the taste, you know, obviously depending on your image, but not very difficult, just 1 or 2 sliders here to adjust. Once we're happy with the preview, we can press the circle button again. That removes the real-time preview. Sorry, close the real-time preview, and then we're just going to drag this triangle onto the image. And those settings from multi-scale adaptive stretch will be applied. So our image is now stretched from a data point of view. So we could have used curves transformation, we could have used arcsine H stretch. You know, as I said, there's screen transfer function as another one that can be used. So like in PixInsight, there's generally 2, 3, 4 ways of doing the same functionality, and over time in practice you'll just understand which works for best for you, which one you feel more in control of, and which one you want to use for your images. So continuing with very simple workflow, we've now got our stars on the left hand side and our galaxy only on the right hand side, and we're going to bring those together. Now we're going to script, utilities, and then to ImageBlend, and basically it does what it says on the tin. It brings 2 images back together and blends them together. So again, I'm going to reset this. So this is the values you would probably have the first time you come in. I'm going to choose our auto crop, which is our base image, and we want to apply the stars on top of that base image. The other thing we do is instead of blend mode replace, we need to set it to screen. Okay, so that's screening or bringing those 2 images together. Minor changes if you want to do in here. You can adjust the sensitivity, the highlights, the midtones to make the stars a little bit stronger if you wanted to, but again we're just going with the defaults. So screen blend, selected the 2 images for our base and blend image, click the green tick, and I'm going to close that and just pull these to the side. We don't need them as such anymore, and there in the middle we've got our final image. So we could export this into something like Photoshop or raw filter to slightly increase the exposure, maybe improve the colors a little bit further. Within PixInsight we could also do that. We could increase the saturation, we could use curves transformation to bring those colors out a little bit more, make the galaxy pop a little bit more. But as I said, this is just to show how a simple workflow within PixInsight is possible with using probably 90-95% of the defaults settings for each of the processors that I've used. So hopefully this has been useful. Hopefully, you know, it has shown that PixInsight, yes, there's a lot to it. It is very deep if you want it to be, but it is possible to do a simple workflow step by step as I've shown, to get a final image of a galaxy. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know in the comments if that has helped you, if you are new to PixInsight. But otherwise, thank you very much. I appreciate your time for watching this video. Also like and subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Thank you.